Welcome back to another Eduro Learning live video. My name is Kim Covino, and I am here to chat with you about coaching in a school setting, so instructional coaching, educational coaching. And today is our very first Ask Me Anything session. So we've been posting on social media to get questions from you guys about the kinds of questions that you have about coaching for me. And I'm super excited to answer the 4 questions that we selected here. And if you see me kind of looking over at my notes, it's because I wrote some answers down there so I don't forget anything. And these are 4 really challenging questions. They were really great questions. Thanks for sharing them. I want to go through all 4 of the questions and then kind of wrap up this whole series of live videos and resources that we've been sharing on coaching over the last few months here at Eduro Learning. We are so excited to be sharing all these resources with you because all of the pieces that we've been putting together lead up to the Coach Micro Credential, which registration is open right now. It closes on May 1st. It is our only cohort for 2018, and there's only a few spaces. So there's only 3 spaces left to work with me as your mentor, and we have some more spaces left to work with Diana as your mentor. And the idea behind this micro credential is that you have a whole year with a mentor, whether it's me or Diana, and you get a series of courses, 26 weeks of learning within that academic year of mentorship. So the kinds of questions that you guys are asking are exactly the kinds of questions that would be covered in the Coach Micro Credential. So if these are interesting to you, please check the Coach Micro Credential out, and I'll put the link in the comments when I'm done. And as you're watching this, if you have other questions and you want to drop them into the comments, go for it, and I will try to answer those questions as well, in addition to the 4 that I've already prepped for today. So again, thank you so much for your questions, and let's get started. The first question that we selected is, how do you transition from being a teacher to being a coach? Because there's lots of classroom teachers who do amazing things in their classroom and would like to share that with a wider audience, but they're kind of not sure how to get started. So having made the transition myself, I have some kind of tips or strategies that might work for you. The first one is to find as many opportunities as you can to share your learning with others. That might be in a small team meeting. That might be just going and talking to your peers. That might be asking if you can share something at a faculty meeting with your administrator. So getting that opportunity to share your learning with others in as many different formats as is possible for you in your context. Another great idea is, like, if you're not really sure what the coaching role might look like or how it might feel to be in that position, because it is very different to be a leader for adults than it is to be a teacher in a classroom, you might want to partner with a colleague and see if a colleague would be willing to do something with you where you coach them through something new. So maybe you have a colleague who's really interested in doing something that you've been doing in your classroom for a long time. We'll see if they'd be willing to partner with you and let you be their coach as they try it out to kind of get the feeling for what being a coach might be like. Another idea is to just open your classroom doors. Invite people in to see you teach and see how you work, so you get that feeling of being observed, because as coaches, we're almost always in someone else's classroom, so we're almost always being observed. So getting comfortable with people watching you teach and watching you kind of practice and hone your craft is a really great opportunity if you're interested in moving to a coaching role. Another thing that I did at the beginning that was really helpful for me is just present at conferences. So see if you have something to share that you might be able to go and present at another conference, because that's a great way to get feedback from others and hear a little bit about how others respond to kind of your presentation style or your facilitation style, so they know a little bit more about what you have to offer. And then finally, in all of those contexts, try to provide options for people to provide you feedback. Ask for feedback. What do they like about working with you? What's challenging? What you could do to kind of help or support them even more? So kind of getting feedback from your colleagues so that you know what works in a coaching relationship and kind of what doesn't. So those were some tips for how to transition from being a classroom teacher or any sort of subject teacher to a coach. The second question that we selected to talk about is, as a coach, maybe in a new coaching role, how do you approach that colleague that has never come to work with you? How do you approach a new colleague, someone who you haven't had an opportunity to work with, but you know there might be something worthwhile there? And I think from all of the videos that we've been sharing over the last few months and the YouTube series that we've just released, I think you will already know the answer to that question, which is to build personal relationships. So find that common connection that you have with that person so that you can build that connection, that relationship, and have something to talk about that's not just about work, so that there's a reason for you guys to talk to each other. So I think building that relationship first is the number one most important priority. Then I think you might want to be able to see if you can attend a team meeting, kind of listen into what's going on at that team so that you have ideas you might be able to propose. If you have an opportunity to pop into that teacher's classroom and see what's going on in that learning space, you could then pull together what you heard at the team meeting and what you saw in the classroom and provide some constructive and kind of collaborative feedback for that teacher to see if there's an opportunity for you to work together. You could also tie in at the same time, if you have a look at their curriculum, if you see an opportunity to work together, you could propose that to the teacher. And I think most importantly, you really want to be clear on why you want to work with that teacher and articulate to that teacher, this is why I really want to work with you. I saw this in your curriculum, I heard this in your staff meeting, and when I popped into your classroom, I saw this. These are the things that I think I can really support you with, or these are ideas that I'm excited about, or I really love the way you did this and I want to get in there and work on it with you further. So I think being really clear about why you're trying to build this professional relationship once you have that personal bond will help the teacher understand what you have to offer and maybe be a little bit more receptive to having someone coach them if they hadn't considered it before. So those are my tips for approaching a new to you colleague. And then the third question that we selected is, what happens when you have a coaching relationship with someone, but they kind of let you do all the technology stuff and they take care of all the curriculum stuff and they don't really want to take the responsibility for the area that you're coaching, in this case, in this example, technology. So how do you help them be like a more reflective practitioner because they're kind of just leaving that piece up to you? I think one thing that's really important in any sort of coaching relationship is the kinds of questions that you ask, the purposeful questions that help kind of dig out that idea of personal responsibility in this case. And I just brought over some books. Like, I have a ton of books on questions and protocols that I reference when I'm not sure exactly the question to ask. There are lots of resources to find the right question or the right protocol to go through with the teacher. And sometimes it's a matter of looking together at student work and looking at examples of what has been produced by the students in this collaborative partnership, and then seeing how you can propose the right questions for the teacher to take on a little bit more of the ownership of the entire project or the entire experience. I think as you're doing that, if you have some deliberate phrasing like next year or next time, or as you take this a step further, or as you take ownership of this project, if you can bring in some really clear phrasing that makes it intentional that you're going to have that kind of gradual release of responsibility, because the ultimate goal is that maybe you help a teacher with one project and then they do that project on their own the next year and you can help them with another project. So making that really clear to teachers, I think, is a really good way to help them kind of take ownership. And then finally, to encourage them to share what they did with other teachers, because when they have the opportunity to share the great work that they did with others, that's really that moment where they can kind of take ownership of the whole experience. And that's great. You don't really want it to be about you. It's about them and their learning and their growth. So that was a response to the third question we selected about helping other people reflect and take ownership over, that whole kind of unit or project you worked on them with. And then the last question we selected was, if you're already a coach, how do you take your coaching to the next level? How do you kind of like level up your coaching skills? And of course, I'm going to say take the Coach Micro Credential, because that's all about defining a personal goal for your own coaching practice. So it can be something like asking better questions. It can be something like working with more people and kind of open up that range of willingness of people that you work with. It can be about how to be a better facilitator of trainings. It can be about how to build your presentation skills to present at conferences. The idea of identifying a goal and then working towards that goal is how you level up your coaching. And the Coach Micro Credential does exactly that. So we would help you select a goal that is best for you and your school, and then help you level up to reach that goal over the course of a one academic year period with your mentor, either me or Diana. Once you've identified that goal, you want to select some resources. And of course, if you're in the Coach Micro Credential, all the people there, including me and Diana, would be your resources. And then you might also have, find the right books. And I brought a bunch over. These are some of my favorites, right? So find the right books that help you kind of move towards that goal. Personally, I like a lot of my resources to be digital, even though I just showed you a whole bunch of books. So I'm a member of a bunch of coaching groups on Facebook. I follow different coaches on Twitter. I follow coaches on Instagram. And I participate in those spaces because that's what is professional growth for me. I like to be able to access those things, whether it's from my phone or from my computer. I don't want to be tied down to one particular object. And I also like the interaction that you can have with your peers in those spaces. So there are lots of great Facebook groups for coaching and Google Plus groups for coaching. And there's lots of opportunities for you to learn through social media working towards your goal. Another thing you can do is ask for support. So find someone who is an established coach and ask if they would be willing to be a mentor for you. Maybe you're not ready to join the Coach Micro Credential right now, which provides a mentor, but you know someone who could mentor you for a short period of time. That's a great way to get direct feedback from someone who might have a little bit more experience than you. When you're doing all of this and you've set that goal that you want to work towards, I would recommend that it's, very specific and it's time limited. So it's not this like overarching thing that you may never feel like you achieve. It's got to be something that feels achievable to you. I would recommend that you find a way to document and reflect on your learning. I know this is something that as busy educators, we very often skip over, but I cannot express to you the number of times that I have been either so thankful that I sat down to write a blog post or so annoyed with myself that I didn't sit down to write a blog post about an experience. And maybe for you, it's not blogging. Blogging's not the space. Maybe for you, it's a video reflection. Maybe for you, it's a sketch note. Maybe for you, it's a drawing or a picture with the story that goes with it. It doesn't matter. But taking the time to document and reflect on your journey of achieving or working towards that goal will help you so much in the long run. And if you are interested in joining the Coach Micro Credential, the very last thing that we have you do is a personal project. And what you do there is you create a video about all the great things, all the achievements, the successes and the challenges that you've had in working towards your goal, and you condense it into one video. And to me, that one artifact is so powerful. It's something you can use for your own personal reflection, but it's also something you can use to further your career. So keeping in mind that you being that passionate and engaged educator and going on this professional journey and then documenting and reflecting on your journey is not only powerful for you, but it's also great evidence for a potential job interview or a potential future employer. So those were 4 really awesome questions we received for this Ask Me Anything session. I hope that those were helpful for you. And if you have more questions, please feel free to drop them in the comments and I will respond right there. I'm going to put some resources in the comments too for you that go back to some of the things that I mentioned today. If you are curious or interested in the Coach Micro Credential, this Sunday we are having a webinar featuring all of the coaching experts from the YouTube series that we just released called Coaching Fundamentals. And that will be live. It's going to be at 7:30 p.m. Bangkok time. So if that time doesn't suit you, you can also sign up to get the recording sent to you. So this webinar is totally free. It'll give you a great preview to the types of conversations and learning that you're going to have in the Coach Micro Credential. And you can watch it either live with us and participate, or you can watch it at your leisure. So please don't forget to check that out and sign up for that webinar and let us know what you think. Are these resources helpful for you? Are they interesting? Is this what you want to know about coaching? Or would you like us to take it in a totally different direction? We want to make sure what we share here with you is relevant and purposeful and useful and practical for you. So thank you so much for joining me for this Facebook Live this morning, and I look forward to seeing you again in the future. Bye-bye.